Hey guys, VaulSC here. We're going to finish talking about the games played last Sunday at our little mini competition, playing Morats here for the third and final game against Panoceania. And we're going to be playing on the mission Unmasking, a bit of a newer one in the ITS pack. I've featured it on my channel a few times. So Morats against Pano, gonna have to go press the 3 buttons through the middle of the table and then figure out which of the opponent's HVTs is the real designated target, and then assassinate him. So let's just have a look through. I believe I've got the first turn for this one, so we'll just have a quick look. Grabbing the pink out. So same table as last bat rep, and same deployment zone, incidentally, so we're quite familiar with this. This time, though, the Morat Link team are going to be towards the middle of the deployment zone itself, Hacker to the right, and then the Q drone with Dr. Worm to the right behind total cover. To the left, we've got, well, actually an additional member of the Morat Link team, so the Link leader's here, and they've got 3 more here, and the 5th guy out wide. Then there's a Zerat up next to the objective, although, as we'll discover shortly, that is a mistake. The Zerat should be back further because there is an exclusion zone. Can't deploy within an 8-inch zone of the middle of the table, so it's effectively a 16-inch stripped. You can also see some of my HVTs, one of them around here, another around here, another around here, and this table side, absolutely terrible for actually placing HVTs because they're all exposed, but my opponent won the dice roll and went for a table side, probably for that reason actually, so he could conceal his HVT a bit better. Just looking again at my setup, so we saw middle of the table, Datcharazzi's over that direction, and then there's the Q drone and Doctor back behind total cover. Then, of course, Lieutenant and Ikadron over the right-hand side, Flash Pulse spot over here, both of the Crackot Renegades up on the top right. And there you go, you can see 1, 2, 3 of my hidden HVTs at this point. Okay, so opposing Pano player, from right to left, we have a Crackot Renegade over here. This is a 10 order list. There's going to be a Swiss Guard missile launcher hidden deployed here, so that is hidden deployment right there. There is one of his HVTs here. You can see my Zerat deployed up here where it's not really supposed to be. We'll move that soon. Engineer and TR bot ready to inflict some pain reactively. There's a hacker to put assist to fire on either the TR bot or the Bulleteer over here, and a Montessanite deployed with mechanized deployment on top of this building up top. Then there's a Tech B over this side because this is a Joan of Arc list. This is also the same list that he ran for Biotech Vor earlier in the week and day. So this Joan of Arc way over to the left hand side of the table. You can see 2 of his HVTs just camped out behind this rocky outcrop here in total cover against my army. Really good space for them to be in. My reserve model is the Yalgat Sniper, who will be able to move prone to the edge of this high ground obstacle here. It doesn't look as high as it actually is, but there is a big long sort of cliff face there, and when his silhouette or base is there, he should be able to see through that angle onto the TR bot, which is actually over here. And the thinking is that if I've deployed more than 32 inches away, the TR bot will shoot back at -3 for long range, -3 for cover, unless he's got assisted fire on him, but I'm going first, and then another -6 for the Datcharazzi. He's putting smoke in around here, so it should be -12, so the Yalgat should be able to eliminate the TR bot. So that is my opening plan, so to speak. He has countered that by putting a Kamau sniper, very similar to the NIS sniper, with a long line through the diagonal middle of the table behind Joan's position, but the 2 snipers cannot see each other. Also, please note that there is a forest here, which really helps the Kamau sniper because he's only shooting 1 dice reactively anyway, doesn't care about the saturation zone, and the MSV2 will ignore the forest penalty, just like it ignores smoke. So my data tracker is going to be this Crackot to the right. His data tracker, I believe, is going to be his Montessanite. So Datcharazzi's beginning here by throwing smoke down there and there. They are Bliss Skill 14 because they're Fizz 14 when throwing grenades, +3 for the link, +3 for short range, hitting the smoke grenades automatically. No need to make the roll unless it's a face-to-face roll. Zerat over here should actually be back here, so we're going to be repositioning it shortly. Alright, so there you go, there's our position, and after the smoke templates go down, just repositioning the Zerat way back here where it should be, and it will then move out to the objectives just to try and get an early leg up on deploying, hitting the buttons and locating the HVTs. I want to point out at this stage that me and my opponent both lamented the fact that we've actually both got worse lists than we would have liked for this particular mission. It's all well and good to think, okay, I'm just going to go out there, press the buttons, I'm only going to need 1 or 2 specialists for that, then it's a matter of just getting an attrition leg up, it's a matter of controlling the board and eliminating the HVTs, easy win. Well, actually, if you don't have very good specialists, it can actually be really annoying for this mission. So looking at it, I've got a Zerat, and that's really about it. Other than that, I've just got my hacker, Dr. Worm, whereas he's got a doctor, no, he doesn't even have a doctor, he's got an engineer, tech B, and hacker, and those are his only specialists. Plus, we're playing on a table which is really, really awkward for getting up into the center, because there's these big wide areas between the deployment zones and the middle of the table. So table layout not very good, unfortunately, for this one. So Zerat moving out anyway. This attracts the attention of the Swiss Guard missile launcher and head in deployment. Pew, firing a missile. Zerat is destroyed unceremoniously there. So again, feeling a bit tired this game, didn't really play my best, going for a bit of a weird play here, which is to coordinate move with the Doctor and the Q-drone up to this objective here, to press the button on it and set up the Q-drone in the middle of the table, just to make it annoying for him. There's also a bullet here that I've got to contest with through that fire lane. So really just charging in, really, and trying to get some buttons pressed as soon as possible. So that's an interesting one. The Q-drone finds itself here, firing at the bullet here, but I had even forgotten to put assisted fire onto him, which is a blunder. It's not really something you should be forgetting to do in a competition game. So Q-drone, unfortunately, shooting through the forest, behind cover, the ODD. He's got +3 for range, but hitting on very, very low numbers. Bullet here also needing something really horrible to shoot back with, but does manage to dodge away behind the cover. So I feel like the game's not really off to a very good start here. Also, I have to try and work out whether he's used the very obvious HVT out in the open, the easy-to-kill one, as his real HVT, or whether he's decided to pick one of the safer ones back here. The Doctor does eventually press the button and reveals the furthest one back. I am just going to go with the theory that he'd probably choose the one which is safest, but I was wrong. He did not choose that one. So Doctor coming in here and pressing the button. Then what he's doing is just casually moving over here to the center, where he's going to have to contend with the Kamal sniper, which has got a very thin angle through this line here, and Doctor just barely managing to get past him, but failing to press the button on the objective, which is, again, sad and very annoying. So I've got one of them taken, but not the second one. And that just basically puts the Doctor in a spot where he's getting shot. I was willing to sacrifice that Doctor for pressing 2 buttons, but I only got 1 thanks to some poor dice rolls. Also decided to move my hacker back here, realizing he's going to be important later in the game for moving out to press that button that I'd missed with the Doctor. So just trying to conserve him, but really a pretty poor game so far. Alright, so the sniper doing what he does best, moving to the edge here, destroying the enemy TR bot, just absolutely removing him, not even giving the engineer a chance to revive him, just shooting him while he's down, and then setting up on the edge here. And the reason I'm doing that is because his Kamal sniper, which he's fiddling with over here, only has a line through this spot and generally through that area here, and doesn't actually cover the shadow of this building where the Yalgat's set up. So the Yalgat will completely prevent him from coming in on his first turn with his engineer or tech B or doctor, because they're not really going to be able to contest this Yalgat. He doesn't really have anything that can beat it, to be honest. If he moves him with the Swiss Guard, it's pretty much even odds on 1 dice against me, so that's not really great for him. And the bullet here is just too far away, really, to deal with this guy just yet. So that's why I'm planning on arrowing with him. We've got a cracker moving all the way up to the forest where he stops, thanks to difficult terrain. And then the Montesa just moving up a little bit further to the edge of this building, where he's going to be able to spec fire some grenades down, possibly onto the Doctor. Although once he realizes that the Doctor is out of range, he decides to abandon that plan. There is a template here for some reason, cannot remember. Okay, he's firing his spec fire grenade at the Q drone, which he decided was a bad idea once he realized how out of range it was and sort of what odds he actually needed firing into the long distance. So instead what we're doing is we're putting down assisted fire from the hacker onto the Bulleteer. Bulleteer is then able to move out here and all the way over here, where he can set up within a 24-inch range band of the Q drone. So that's going to allow him to get into much better odds to shoot him, whereas the Q drone is still shooting back through the forest and against ODD, -1 burst and everything. So that's what happens here. Bulleteer setting up for firing, moving through to that position I just identified, and the Q drone is eventually destroyed by the bullets. He's then able to fire at the Dr. Worm. So that's Q drone going down. Dr. Worm being shot at by the Bulleteer, continuing to advance around, but at this time the Doctor actually miraculously dodging back unbelievably against the Bulleteer's shots here and getting into a safer position. He does get boxed in by the Kamau sniper, able to shoot over this way once he gets further out of line of sight over to this location, but at least I'm costing my opponent quite a few orders in doing so. So eventually Kamau sniper down the bottom right here, firing at the Doctor in the middle of the table, and between those two particular units he eventually manages to take the Doctor out as well. So there's the final in location for the Doctor, shut down by our enemy Kamau trooper. And then Bulleteer moving forward to the center of the table, just setting up a space where he's a bit more comfortable. Alright, so Morat's turn 2. After a long amount of thinking and debating internally and agonizing about where to put things, I eventually came up with this move where I decided to put down control jump with the Morat Vanguard hacker and then fly in with the Yaugat. The Yaugat, of course, being represented by our friendly... sorry, I'm talking about a Raziat dropping in, being proxied by a Yaugat. And he drops down here. The plan is to put some Eclipse smoke in front of Joan, move into close combat with her, and then charge in with the Krakots and hopefully destroy her, putting my opponent to loss lieutenant. But one very annoying thing is that there is there's a designated target that got revealed here. After dropping in, we realized that he would get a free stun pistol shot, which he passed and then stunned me, but then we realized, hang on a sec, the line of facing of the designated target was like that after it was revealed. Would he have been facing backwards, or would he have been facing forwards? Although it's probably safe to say that if he chose his facing before the Raziat dropped in, he surely would have been facing this way, right? Because there are Krakos deployed on the other side of that big rock, that big cliff. So he's probably going to be facing towards my deployment zone rather than back to try and fend off any potential Raziats, which he doesn't know are coming. So we ruled it, or at least rolled the dice for it, coin flipped it, that he was actually facing towards my deployment zone. So the Raziat drops down, tries shooting the designated target, but annoyingly after a couple of orders, he's actually foiled here and doesn't actually get the shots off until like the third attempt, finally kills the designated target. Then it's a matter of moving through, dropping the Eclipse smoke in front of Joan, not touching her base, of course. I don't want her dodging back. I just want her locked in position there in suppression fire. I have picked up a point by killing the designated target, and then I can move within zone of control of Joan. She is forced to do a reset or a change face or declare no error at all. Then with the second move, moving into base contact with her so that she can't attack. Then it's a matter of bringing this Krakot over the hills. He is the data tracker. I don't mind losing the data tracker if it does mean me picking up some important hits here. So also dropping the Raziat did drop an extra Eclipse grenade behind him just to block off any line of sight from the Bulleteer, which is round about here, firing through this smoke cloud in particular and hitting the Krakot on its way through. So the stage is set. Krakot moves all the way through here and realizes that maybe the best idea is not to just spend the last order attacking Joan because it's quite risky. Ideally, I would have wanted to get 2 hits on her with a chest mine for her to fail both and then go unconscious thanks to the shock ruling. Although I must say, as of the time of this battle report, Corvus Belli did put out an FAQ owning up to their disastrous and stupidly foolish decision to have shock effect models with 2 wounds. They have reverted that as they should have. They've been forced to admit that they were wrong. That's okay. Apology accepted. So from now onwards, and not including this game, but in future games, you'll need to do 3 wounds to a model like Joan to take her down, as you should do. Anyway, I figured Joan would be able to tank the chest mine saves anyway, so I'm deciding to move past her and deal with her after this. So moving around here to fire the submachine gun at the Kamau, which is an equally nasty target because of the control he has over the table, and removing the Kamau with the shots from the submachine gun here, ripping him up. And the important thing is that if Joan attacks in close combat, because the Raziat has NBW, Natural Born Warrior, he's got a close to even chance of actually beating Joan, just slightly less than Joan, and that will allow the Krakot to actually engage into close combat and tie her up. Also, if he doesn't deal with these guys, then on my next turn I can just simply attack her by walking into close combat with Impetuous. So that's how things ended up. Everybody else is just hanging out in position. I've lost the Dr. Worm and the Q-Drone in the middle of the table there. Okay, so he does have a Krakot continuing to move forward through this forest. The Link team here of Dacheratsus can just throw smoke if they really want to, so the Krakot's not going to make a lot of progress. There we go, throwing the smoke down. Excuse me. This is also going to set up for me stopping any potential Bulleteer attack. So if I put the smoke down here and the Yalgat is able to fire back through the smoke at any Bulleteer coming around the corner through that building, that will be a really good thing for me. So a really good defensive smoke opportunity from the Dacheratsu. Okay, so Joan does indeed have a go at it, and she does indeed attempt to beat our Raziat in close combat, and unluckily for Joan, she whiffs it, and the Raziat wins the close combat round. Just bear in mind that Joan's advantage over him is not wonderful, because she does not get to use MA3. She's just got a base raw CC stat, which is only a couple of points higher than the Raziat's base CC stat. So her chances of beating him aren't any higher than, say, 55-60%, if that. So with the Raziat rolling higher than her, Joan actually takes some damage here and is actually wounded by this, and the Krakot is able to engage into close combat too. So, feeling a bit desperate, the Bulleteer is indeed moving around here with his assist to fire, and he's going to try and take on the Yalgat with multi-sniper, actually. So this is quite interesting, isn't it? So what he does is he does move around just far enough to draw a little bit of a line past the smoke. Very important that he does this. And that's going to allow him to attack on what? He's BS12, -3 for range, so 9's for him on 4 dice. And then this guy will be shooting back on a 15, because it's basically 12 plus 3. So, pretty good opportunity for me here to take down a very powerful unit. But unfortunately for me, my opponent rolls a crit with the Bulleteer. So I want you to remember this moment, because this is actually quite a significant sort of thing. If he loses the Bulleteer, what else does he really have to take on the Yalgat and get his specialists into close combat, or not close combat, base to base with the objectives? Whereas killing me here, what do I have to prevent him from doing that, remaining on the table? So that's quite an important shootout. So what he does now is he uses coordinated orders to move his specialists in range. He's got one more turn after this to actually make it happen, and he's still got his data tracker on the roof to bombard my HVTs once he unveils them. So everybody else moving through, just trying to get in close range of the objectives to hit them next turn, and I'm very close to running out of stuff to respond with. So they all make it in. Thankfully for me, though, the engineer fails 2 attempts in a row to actually press the button on his objective, and then he runs out of orders, so that's pretty good. Don't forget his hacker in the background as well, so all 3 specialists moving towards the objectives in the center, as you guys can see there. Okay, and the Montes Knight standing up and moving down here, putting himself in harm's way. Here's the data tracker, but he'll also be able to shoot at me if I move stray units out, such as my hacker, to try and press buttons of my own. There you go there. Engineer's ending up base to base, prone next to his objective. Okay, so unbelievably, Joan is destroyed in close combat because at this point I've got a Krakot Renegade and a Raziat in close combat with her. The Krakot can berserk with his chest mines or his double action close combat weapon and finish her off, and she'd already been wounded by the Raziat, so that is the end of Joan. What I can do next is move out with my Raziat over here and fire at the Montessanite with his Spitfire and try and cause him some damage, although after a couple of orders, the Montessanite fairly resilient to this, only eventually does he get gunned down. Whew. So game turning out to be an interesting one so far. A bit of a pillow fight, really. Both of us kind of playing a bit poorly and having brought fairly poor lists and not a very good table layout as well, but something quite negative happened external to the actual game itself in this instance, and that is that the guy organizing the tournament, of course, lovable Admiral I forget his initials, just told us we're out of time. And then fair enough, because the store closes at like 6 p.m. and our game had been dragging on for ages. Both of us have been taking ages to come up with our decisions. Earlier that day at lunchtime, we'd also watched Bostria's Gen Con seminar, which, in addition to our lunch break, took up a fair amount of time. So it was a good seminar, but it's caused this third game to go a bit overtime. So we were kind of told to wrap it up. And there was a bit of confusion there because we were asked if it was the last turn, and it kind of felt like the last turn, but the thing is, this is the last Morat turn. Pano still has another turn. It's just expected to be a short turn because they're going to be in Lost Lieutenant, right? Anyway, if we'd stop the game right here, right now, it means that Morats automatically win because Morats have killed one HVT, even though it wasn't the real HVT, and Pano basically has done nothing. But we continued playing anyway. So what happens next? So the Dacherazzi is just really hanging out. There's a Bulleteer right in the middle there. Not too much that they can really do, except maybe walk forward and actually shoot at the engineer. So the guy with the combi rifle moving around to try and blast him. I think that's the best bet there, just because it doesn't really matter if these Dacherazzi die. What matters is killing any potential, scoring models on his side. So that's the plan here with the Dacherazzi. So out they come. The guy with the combi rifle leading the charge shoots at the engineer, but the engineer either goes crit dodge or passes some armor saves. For some reason, they don't actually manage to kill him, which is extremely, frustrating. The Yaugat continuing to move forward, now able to fire at the hacker in the background. If I recall correctly, the hacker is destroyed by that, but that's really all that the Raziat is able to achieve. So continuing to move through here, not able to get to the point where it can actually attack the Tech B, which is the more important one. And then hacker moving around, trying to get some long-range combi rifle shots through here, through the gap at the engineer, but also failing to do that. So this is the point in the game where we're absolutely told, like, stop playing. Like, that's the end of it. Like, other people have already stopped their games and been told to stop their games early. But it's sort of a situation where, like, how many dice do you have left to roll? I mean, the guy on the Pano side has to press the button with the engineer, has to spend a command token to turn an irregular order into a regular order because Joan's dead, right? Lost a lieutenant, and do it again. Then the Krakot Renegade has to shoot at the HVT, which gets revealed by it. He does end up picking the right HVT. So it's just a bit of an awkward situation. What we ended up doing, though, is we ended up saying, okay, look, just make the extra rolls and be done with it. And both me and my opponent agreed to have, all of the dice rolls that got made after we were told to stop the game count, just because he and I are the type of people that prefer for a game to be decided by, the dice rolls and the decisions, not by a time restriction. I personally would prefer if we started moving towards time turns and using chess clocks like they do in other competitive tournament systems, like War Machine Hordes and Guild Ball, which are more competitive systems than infiNity. But since we don't have that, we'll just have to do the best we can. And this game actually turned out to be a win for Panoceania. something I was okay with, by the way, just because at the end of the day, he did spend all his command tokens. He did get a pass with the engineer onto the objective without dying, and he did select the right HVT, and he did successfully kill it with his bulleteer or his crackot or whatever with their irregular orders, and that put him in the lead in terms of points. It didn't change the result of our mini competition. I still came first out of 5 people, whoop-de-doo, like not a big deal there, but just a bit of an awkward end to a bit of a funny game. This wasn't really my best game of infiNity ever. Again, both of us chose pretty poor lists for this particular mission. We should have planned better. That's on us. This table layout, really not a very good layout at all, just because, as you guys can see, even from this photo, you've got a deployment zone here, which is easy enough to deploy in. Then you've got a line of sight blocking building here, and then a big rocky outcrop there, another one over here, and then all of these angles are just deployment zone versus deployment zone. It's actually really, really quite nutty. Sorry about all the pink there, but it's very long ranged, and there's this massive gap in the center between the deployment zones and the middle, where you've just got to cross this horrible chasm with nothing really to use to work towards the middle. Like this whole open area here is just needs bigger line of sight blocking stuff. Anyway, stop whining about that. We all had a good time anyway on our Sunday, so I hope you guys enjoyed following this. I'll hopefully have some more bat reps soon. In fact, going to be playing lots of games, so why wouldn't I? We'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.